สมาคมทุนเทียนมนุษย์กัมพูชี HRAC ជាឃ្លាំងវិជាផ្ដល់ចំណេះដឹងជូនមិត្តគ្រប់គ្នាគ្រប់ពេលវេលាគ្រប់វិនាទីបើគ្រប់គ្នាមានវិជាជាបឋមខ្ញុំបាទសូមគ្រប់អាដាមលោកជំទាវអ្នកអង្គញាអស់លោកស្រីដែលមានវត្តមាននៅក្នុងបន្ទប់នេះជាទីគោរពនិងជាទីរាប់អានដោយសារតែ speaker របស់យើងមានបរទេសដែរដូច្នេះនៅក្នុងកម្មវិធីនេះខ្ញុំនឹងប្រើភាសាអង់គ្លេសបាទសូមអរគុណ again and welcome to all of the speaker because I think at the first time that should I ask a lot of questions or just keep the floor to the participant, but because I am the moderator, I'm afraid that I cannot have chance to ask the question. I need to ask the question first. Let me start from first question to each of the speaker. And firstly, I want to start to Professor Christopher. You mentioned about the change of the HR from the past and to the present and also some expectation in the future. Based on the economic growth, the businessman or investor can learn from other country, especially the track of the change from other country. But how about HR? Can we follow the same track of the change in other developing country, or should be apply in different way?
Thank you for the question. I don't know how to answer that actually. Yes and no. Yes, there is kind of if you're talking about policies and awarding, rewarding people, that's mainly about this. You can learn from others, like we learned this morning. However, there is something that in common, because we're talking about developing human, and human have certain need. So in that sense, we already doing it in the past. Successful company, a company who is good at doing this, like the Honda Corporation and so on, they're very good. But what we need to do now is we're facing a new challenges that we need to focus on more on certain aspect of that, right? Like leadership, for example. By the way, when I'm talking about leadership, I don't mean about the manager, the CEO, and so on. I'm talking about leaders at all levels of the companies. From the security guard, if you have 4 or 5 security guards, the leaders among them will rise. The one that make everybody take responsibility seriously. Because I believe leadership is about responsibility, not about title so much. Yeah. So I don't know whether I'm answering the question or not.
Okay. Let's move to Bongvila. You also mentioned a lot about the compensation and benefit. Actually, the main purpose is the staff retention. But when we look in the market, the HR professional also move a lot. So who is the should be blamed for that? Because of the HR professional himself cannot perform the work well, that make he or her himself move from the company, or because of the CEO of the company?
Okay, in short, remember, the employees leave the managers, not the organization. So put it this way. So look at the expectations of the leadership team. So if we are HR professional, HR leaders, and we cannot adapt to the environment where the business expectation is required, that's one of the HR challenge. And of course, HR in any organization works under pressure. There are a lot of pressure. HR moving from organization to one organization to another organization, I think there's different reasons. So I'm not very sure whether it's any specific answer to this, but the question to all of us actually is that look at how the leadership, how the culture in the organization, and at the same time, look at ourselves, especially whether we move because of the growth, while the internal or existing opportunity is reaching the roof. So that's also moving because of the opportunity. Remember on the Gen Y, you can't expect Gen Y to stay very long unless you have very good opportunity, very good growth. At the same time, look at how or what motivates them most. So if the lifestyle is a recognition, but if the existing entity is not really valuing that kind of aspect, and that also costs the movement of the HR professionals themselves. So the moving out of the HR professionals would largely impact even more impact of the organization rather than the functional leaders move the organization. That's my view.
But do you agree that some CEO just mainly focus on the sales department rather than the HR department, because they're willing to think that if the people move from the sales department, it will be affects more than the people move from HR department?
Okay, put this way. My opinion, CEO should be a rounded experience, right? So for those leaders, HR leaders, one day move up to the CEO, that would be the best CEO. Okay. Joking a little, but some CEOs are very sales based, are very sales driven. So the focus of that kind of CEO is more on sale volume, revenue growth. Okay, but HR need to show what HR can support his volume growth with sales growth, because those sales growth or volume, revenue growth or sales volume growth is basically depends very much on the people. So if we HR leaders cannot extend our support and to make sure that to support that growth, and this kind of largely that we depend on people has to be made. So I think that's the bottom line for us. I'm not sure whether I answer your question.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you can add something if you want. Okay.
Several time ago, I did talk here in this room where I mentioned that, and this morning Mr. Cheong talked about business partner to the CEO. I think that is more the right place, because if we understand how important the workforce is, to the organization, then I believe that HR should be placed above the marketing department rather than under or at the same level, because it will be the HR who train the marketer.
Okay, let's move to Mr. Cheong. Mr. Cheong, you're talking a lot about the future of HR, and also you mentioned about the robot age. But now let's start from the human resource first. Don't start from the robot resource. Usually, the people, when we provide them more development, I mean the talent development or provide them a lot of capacity building, do you think that we will give them more room to move to other company? How can we persuade or convince the CEO or the top management that should we put more investment on development? Because the more we put the money on the development, that means the more we give the room for them to move out. Do you think so or not?
That's a very good question, because there is no answer to it. But after saying that, we as consultants must give an answer. there are a few models of training your employees. HR, by the way, has got a term called human renewal. Have you heard of that? Not human resource. Human renewal is a very nice term of keeping what you want, getting rid of what you don't want. That's called renewal. What do I mean by that? The first model is called the Big Four model. Have you heard of the Big Four model? KPMG, Pricewaterhouse, Ernst & Young, Deloitte. Their HR philosophy, anyone from the Big Four here? Because I'm going to say something of their trade secret. Okay, please forgive me anyway if you're from the Big Four. Their job is I train a lot of you very cheaply. And then I let a lot of you go out. It's also called the IBM model. I train you as sales force, you leave. Why? Because you go out to the market and you become my future customers. Isn't that very interesting? So can we develop a channeling of in, train, and out? Rather than saying, I train, you leave, I cry. You know? So I train, you leave, I benefit. Think out of a box. That's one model. The second model is called the new model. Baby boomers are now about getting lesser and lesser in the workforce. Somebody says they are due for retirement, or they have retired, or they are gone somewhere to the other side of the world. So that's a trend. We are getting lesser and lesser. Gen X is the bridge, they say, between baby boomers and Gen Y. Now, Gen Y are in a hurry. But Gen Y say, somebody told me, thank you, Clevin, Gen Y, to understand them is not rocket science. What you need to understand Gen Y, how many of you are below 40 years old? Please put up your hands. Okay. What happened to the rest? Okay. Gen Y slowly are coming more and more into the marketplace. Is that correct? Let's deal with Gen Y, because I feel Gen X is quite stable. Am I right? Hopefully, yeah. Okay. Gen Y, what do you need to give them? Recognition, support, and maybe faster results for them to achieve, because they want to work hard and they want to relax. Am I right? They call it work-life balance, but I don't believe in that. Most of them, if they are very passionate, becomes work-life unbalanced. But it must stir their passion. So there's a new concept called Workforce 2000 in the United States, whereby most of us look at one career ladder. Up, up, up. Senior, junior, middle, senior. Am I right? Now you create lateral career ladders. I call it the specialist career ladder, like in a medical center. You know, the doctors, they got ear, nose, and throat specialists. They got orthopedics, but they are the king in the hospital. Am I right? The nurses, the administrators serve the doctors. Develop a specialist route. The other third way is to develop what I call the entrepreneurial route. Send the generation Y, train them a bit, send them to Cambodia, Vietnam, and then they see new things happening. They get very excited, you know. Then they have got no restrictions, because if they are in Kuala Lumpur or Singapore or Thailand, they feel their bosses are controlling them. You know what I mean? Send them out. They got the energy, you know. Then there's another one called, that's called the entrepreneurial route. So why are we fixed to hierarchical structure? Move sideways. Create alternative career ladders. So maybe your retention will be much better. I know 43% of companies in Cambodia are expanding. 26% are leaving. Your KPI now, sorry, I'm not giving you a KPI, reduce the 26% to 13%, and we'll give you bonus now. Okay.
Just want to mention a little bit on turnover. So if your turnover is very low, less than 5%, for example, you should be worrying about that. So you should not be very happy when your turnover is very little. So then the workforce could be possibly complacent, maybe not very productive, and nothing more to move on. So just sometimes look at that as well. If your turnover is very high, less than 15%, I think you are in the control level. But about the 15%, possibly something you may want to review and look at what best that you can do. But my point is that don't be very happy when your turnover is very little, annual turnover. Thank you.
Okay, actually I violate the rule. I just mentioned that I should ask one question, but because of your answer, make me want to ask more question. You mentioned about how to manage the staff turnover, and then you also mentioned that when the turnover is lower than 5%, it should be a concern. So why HR people mention a lot about the word talent management? Why they don't just use the word human resource management? Because when we're talking about the talent management, it seems like we only refer to the talent people or the best people, something like that, or the smart people. So do you think this word is wrong or not? You should just use the word human resource management rather than talent management.
The term itself is different. Right? Human resource management is very broad range, meaning that it's a whole process of human resource management, including the compensation benefit, talent development, HR operation, employee relations, and so forth. And that's my opinion. Talent management or talent development is a very specific side. Okay, look at it this way. If you look at the vehicle, right? The vehicle can move on, depend very much on the driver, correct? Okay, is it safe to have one driver? Let's compare this to the business. So one person is sick, or what happened to the one driver? You got to park until that driver is recovered. Yeah. It applies the same concept to the business. Yeah. And talent management basically focus on developing the next generation of leaders. And that's our definition. Yeah. You may have different definition, but Coca-Cola definition basically develop the next generation. We purely focus on that. So what we do, we look at what are the most, we categorize or segment the talents, because talents can be everyone. Okay, we call talents, that's a new term. Talent is everyone. But we look at the potential talent or critical roles, or refer to the role, potential and critical roles, right? So in that sense, we develop a flat organization to make sure that it's a leadership sustainability. And that's why the talent programs come into place, to see who would be, and what I'm sharing is the Coca-Cola approach. You may have different approach, but our approach is that we look at what would be the next 3 levels as a priority, and then come to the next level and so forth. So to sustain the organization, to sustain the business leadership, the middle management, the middle leadership and above is the key focus for us to make sure our talent program is in place and effective. And that's why our talent, what you call talent management, yeah. And that's why our talent management, our definition of talent management is not the same as our definition of HR management. HR management is broad.
Okay, please.
May I just add another meaning? Don't worry, talent is not meant for smart people. Yeah. The definition of talent in the dictionary means gift, ability, competency. So if you look at it that way, it is not meant for smart people, it is meant for not so smart people. Okay, because from not so smart, we want to become smart. Yeah. And that's called talent development. Yeah. I hope that helps to.
Okay, thank you. Now, let me hear some questions from our participant here, please. Okay, please give microphone to him.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to ask my question. But this is a very small question. I just heard Mr. Cheong mention about 3 ways to grow people. I don't remember the second one, but the first one, it was like turn our talent into our customer, like IBM case. And the third one is to turn them into entrepreneurs. I am really interested in this topic and I want to learn more. So I would like to ask for your suggestion on material like books or something that I can learn more about this topic. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, Mr. Cheong, he want to create more job for himself because like try to push the people to become the entrepreneur, and then he have the job to recruit another and develop other people. So what is your response to his question?
Wow. Thank you. But to answer my learned colleague, I do not want to create jobs. I want to get out of jobs. Because I'll tell you our business model, and this is a bit of a secret. We work with our clients so that we got no more jobs left. Because I'm baby boomer, I want to retire. So I've left a few years while my health is good to give out a bit. Of course, not totally free, but what is reasonable, so that all benefit. Okay, but what was the question?
The question he just mentioned how is your advice to make sure that you can have the people to become the entrepreneur. I heard like that because you mentioned about the development. Yeah, okay.
My question was I want more information or material on the three strategy that you just mentioned.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, there is a topic which we call career path inventory, which is talking about career ladders. Maybe you can ask HRAC to have such similar talks and then invite the relevant speakers, and we are more than happy to share with you the ideas, the concept. But implementation is going to be very different for different companies because of different company culture. And sometimes we did that for a client to have, instead of one career ladder, we created a second career ladder called the specialist. But the bosses are a bit worried, a bit scared that you're going to take over my job. You know what I mean? We have to deal with the human factor and the political boundaries. That is very normal. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sambat. Yeah.
I'm Sambat. My respect to the panels and all the audience. My question and concern is about soft skill. So, from HR perspective, your practical experience, particularly for Cambodian case, I'm not sure about Malaysia, you might have different cases. Do you see it's enough? Currently, we have only short training course on soft skill for human beings. And vice versa, do you see that it should be a must for the long run, for the long strategic direction? A particular lesson or curriculum on soft skills should be integrated into schools from the kindergarten level up to university. My argument is that, to me, if I'm not mistaken, I see the soft skill is very critical items or skill. No matter what situation we are in love, individually, at workplace, in business, or even on road. If people have a lot of skillful together with talents, this can help mitigate a lot of problem, a lot of conflict, or even can settle the conflict more easily. So, from your experience, what is your response? Thank you.
Okay, I think I pass to Professor Lee.
Thank you for the question. As you know, my passion always been in education. And I've been a principal of primary school. I taught leadership. I taught a thinking skill to basically from 8-year-old onward. And my experience is that is the best age to teach people about critical thinking and creative thinking because the mind is very open. And also at the age of 9, 10, 11, children develop this kind of social awareness. They want to do something good. So leadership is the best time. That's the best time. It doesn't mean it stopped there. It have to be continue on. But yes, I agree with you 100% that it should be part of the education program to integrate. I don't call it soft skills so much. I just call leadership and social, emotional, and ecological skill, which is children also have to have understand about their role on the earth, because that's our big problem right now. So yes, I agree with you 100%. It should be there and continue on so that by the time they enter the workforce, we don't have to teach them anymore. They know how to do it. Thank you.
It's a very good question to ask, soft skills. Research has shown that when you start working life after graduation from university or colleges, 85% is technical skills, 15% is soft skills. Because you are supposed to deliver the work, the project. But as you go up to general manager, managing director, it is opposite. 15% technical and 85% soft skill already. I'm sure, Mr. Oakvilla, you have to work through people. You don't go down to the factory and bottle the thing, you know. He works through all his heads of divisions, you know. And how do you unite them and persuade them? That is why soft skill is very important. And research has also shown that we have to go into emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman talks about that emotional intelligence, aware of yourself, aware of others, aware of your work, aware of outside your work. If you can cover these four, your soft skill is even getting better and better. That will make you into a true leader. So emotional intelligence, whereas technology talks about artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence are trying to get emotional intelligence in because they realize it's important. So even in politics, even in the army, even in corporate world, you have to work through people. Working through people is managing people, leading people. And that is called leadership skills are soft skills. It is not written in a book, but yet you have it or you don't have it. So the next question I ask is, are soft skills natural or are they acquired? That forms the basis of the next HRAC conference.
Okay, so now we see the next topic. So we already can see the next topic now is the emotional intelligence management, right? So that HRAC is recording, I believe, so for the next forum. Okay, just to add on a little bit. So leaders, we don't do all the jobs ourselves, correct? As you mentioned. We get things done through people. So the question is that, to ask yourself, what is the only success? You have a lot of successes, but just pick up one. What is your success? If you try to understand and answer that question, to me, I think the success, the leader's success is the team's success. Does that make sense? Yeah. The leader's success is the team's success, and that's important. And that's why if we develop our team and equip with our team the capabilities, the skills, the knowledge they need to perform the jobs, they can be very successful. And then that is our successful. So our job, the portion of our responsibility, our role is the leadership part. So based on research, I think more than 65% for the leaders is surely focus on the leadership, where the functional focus possibly about 35-40%. So for those participants who come from the institution, my view or my idea, may not recommendation, is that because you contribute a lot 3 months before they graduate, introduce the corporate environment, including the leadership and so forth to the student, equip them with that kind of skills, and you can invite the business leaders, you know, to support that kind of thing. Thank you.
Just further to Mr. Cheong, the comment that we should create another forum to decide whether leadership was born or learned. I can tell you now, they both. The question is, how can we teach leadership? That's the more important question. Thank you.
Okay, let me add more to Mr. Chung. You mentioned about the importance of the emotional intelligence management, and you also mentioned about the importance of the soft skill. As the HR professional, is seen as the people who tend to use hard or emotional feeling to make a decision rather than based on the figure or the financial information. So they assume that the decision always biased. Do you agree with that or not?
Hello. That's a very difficult question. Is HR head or is HR heart? What do you think? Is it both? Okay. Now, human resource has now developed. The seemingly soft side of human resource, seemingly, it doesn't mean it's totally true. Recruitment, you are using a bit of your heart and head, isn't it? Is this a right candidate? Is that a good job fit? When you are in industrial relations, what do you use? Use the law, isn't it? The labor laws, the Employment Act, that is factual. But that's not true, no. When you negotiate with unions, you have to use the heart. Do they trust you? Do the employees trust you? Can you negotiate a collective agreement that is acceptable to both sides? Sometimes you take a drink by the roadside stall, very informal, and have a chat. The informal part is very important. And then there's another field in HR, which is com and ben, like Mr. Oakvilla says. He will talk technical, like how many percentile, 50th percentile, 75th percentile of salary structure, pay for benefits. How do you calculate benefits, annual leave, medical, hospitalization, insurance, am I right? And then the HR has moved to another area called HR analytics, which is very driven by HR information systems, where HR and information systems are blending together, where you analyze the trends, the employment trends, the manpower planning. So what is HR now? It is both finance in compensation, it is both IT in HR information system, it is both head and heart in industrial relations. So HR people are the most versatile and gifted people on earth.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, please.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that should be the last question in Euro time constraint. I'm sorry. Okay,
okay, thank you.
Hello. Okay, thank you for my last question. I want to raise the concern. We almost heard about the word HR department, HR function. Why did we have no like leadership department? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I want all of the speaker to answer.
I think those who knows me a long time will realize that I don't like the word HR, human resource. What you do with resource is that you use it. I don't treat my wife as a resource or my children, their families. And sometimes it's what come out from our mouth reflected what come out from our brain, our mind. So, yeah, like for example, I was talking about Earth leadership before, talking to the Ministry of Environment. I said, why you call yourself Ministry of Environment? It should be called Ministry of Human-Earth Relationship. Maybe this is the same, whatever name it is, but yeah, I take your point that why human resource? Why not leadership? Because there is problem with leadership because how about where does governance fit in? What does management fit in? Because they are two separate things, right? So maybe we have to find a right name for it. Thanks.
I will share a bit. That's my definition. I share that with my team. I said, if we want to be valued, and if we want to drive the organization and support the business growth, we take the leadership. So HR is the leadership department, and then we develop and support other departments to become leadership department.
Okay, finally, I want to hear about 2 or 3 minutes from each of the speaker related to the foreseeing human resource future. So how is your advice or how is your final message, please?
In short, the world is changing, right? Cambodia is changing, already changing. The Cambodia landscape is changing. So look at the current practice and start to think ahead and change what doesn't work. And that's my last message.
My advice is think ASEAN now. It has arrived. December 31st, 2015. A lot of opportunities are at your doorstep. It is up to you. All the best.
For me, I already speak about what make organizations successful, what make living systems successful. That is by following, by obeying the 5 principles of change, differentiation, of unity, of self-regulation, and of expansion. I think my message is, if you practice this, really practice this, you will become successful in any field. Thank you.
Okay, finally, I would like to thank you, all of the speakers, for sharing the useful and informative message this morning, and also thank you for the attention from the audience. Let me pass this floor to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speakers and the moderator, for the session. And ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for your questions, and hopefully your question can be already answered by our speakers here. So, Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's high time we went for lunch actually, and I apologize to you all for being quite late and for the lunch here, but for your information, the lunch is provided and it is readily available. There are 2 places at CJCC where you can find the lunch. One is at the CJCC lobby. You know where it is?
Thank you. Actually, I see the topic is foreseeing human resource future. Actually, as an HR, I met with students and also employees in the company. I heard most of them they want to become like the future goal. They want to become the business people. So when they join the organization. Mostly, I think because their brand is want to become a business people, so they think of a big money. So when they join the company, they think the same thing. I see it in their job aspiration. Most of employees, they just want to be a business people, So as an HR, we found that they are forgetting and developing their technical skill in their current position, and they just doing a blur, I can say a blur goal, just want to be a business people. So as an HR, when we see all this goal is quite big, and we have those people in our organization, so how we can mobilize them to be a very useful resource for our company, even they are thinking very big to be a business people, but we want them to more focus on technical skill to develop one specific skill that can earn in the future. So how can you recommend on that? Thank you.
Okay, Professor Lee, you want to say, please? Yeah.
That is quite common, and the first point is you cannot stop people from leaving. In fact, in my organization, I'm actually encouraging people to leave. So they must have a goal. You said blurred goal. Goal must be, smart. So there must be a time bounded. So when people said, my goal is to do that, you said, when do you want to do this, right? Say, when I'm 50 years old or when I'm 45 years old. So in the meantime, what skill do you need to get that? To become business people, you have to know people, you have to be able to develop. So in the meantime, learn as much as possible, do the best job you can do with us. Then when you are ready, you can go into business yourself. That would be my approach to that kind of thinking. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cheong, you want to say something? Okay.
I also would like to share with you that, yes, we call this career goals, correct? Whether to be a businessman, a specialist, whatever. Do you realize one thing? Career goals change with life. In fact, research has shown 4 stages of career goals. The first stage is called entry, where everything is new and they get very excited. That's why they're called interns or management trainees, management associates. The second stage is called development, where they start getting skills. That's what you want them. They are very valuable to you. They are rising up the ladder. They are contributing to your organization. They are clearer which specialists or areas or functions they want to be. And the third is called balance, where you're becoming like the head of department. You know what I mean? Then you say, well, I can delegate. But they can't cheat me because I've been there before. I know the tricks of the trade. And there's a fourth stage called exploratory, which means I'm now going to retire within 5 years. What is the next stage of my career life? Is it to go into social work? Go into retirement? Or whatever. So, different ones of us have different career goals at different stages. And I understand, in the first 2 stages, you are focusing on technical development. But remember, there are different stages of career life. Would you like to take over?
Just to add a little bit. So, it's good to have the goal in life. So, employees also have that kind of goals in their career and their life as well. So you hear the speakers shared the view on how we look at manage the workforce. So it's important to put what we call the talent development program in place. So that's why you can identify the people, so what is their career aspiration and so forth, and develop the individual development plan to set based on the smart principle. Yeah? And that would help also not only the employee themselves, but help the organization to develop the next generations and also to what I call the retention of the key talents. Yeah? So introduce the talent development program, start with that. So I think that would help the ambitions of your employees.
Bong Villa. Okay, I just want to add more question to Bong Villa. You mentioned about that, but how can we assure that we will not become a victim or we will not become the training center of those kind of people? Because sometimes they just come to our department and then we provide them a lot of career growth, provide them a lot of capacity building, and then they just move out. And then we become the training center for other company or for those people.
I think that's quite common, but let's accept one truth. Okay, accept one truth. Don't expect people to stay in one place for life, especially the Gen Y. Okay, so they are dynamic, but we just make sure when we develop them, the turnover, I mean the return back within the next 2-3 years, that add the value to the organization. The employee leave organization is not always be bad, you know. They could be a great ambassador of the program. One core of the HR function is the building the corporate image, building the employee of choice, the branding, employee branding. And those good employees leaving the organization help being the ambassador to build a brand.
Yeah, thank you. Professor Lee, you want to add something?
Just
Yeah.
like to add
Okay, they want to ask more questions.
Can you just add a little
Okay,
bit?
okay, yeah.
Ladies first.
From Alliance Pharma Cambodia, just one question. We are a local company and I observe more of the turnover if because of work environment. Work environment is like when why, like you mentioned, about work-life balance, make company have a good culture, something like that. For being a HR and because more of the local company, they focus on the benefit of the company. So being a HR, how we play role as HR to be to make this happen. Like company have a good culture, work-life balance, work in the weekday. Because if we are multitask in the local company, we cannot work on time. Actually, at my fair. So how we can make this happen in the local company? Thank you.
Have any idea? Bong Villa? Okay.
Culture is everything. Okay, so that's why my presentation, I place culture in the core, in the internal challenges. I think important that, as our speakers just mentioned earlier, HR analytics. So understand what is happening, what is the real challenge that caused the turnover. By doing so, I think you need to understand, you need to analyze the critical issue in the existing organization. And then you would know, so what would be the biggest challenge for you? The turnover possibly only sales level, possibly. Or is it the middle management side level? So I think before answering that question, it's important for you to understand that specifically. So what is the turnover category? So look at the culture and then also look at the analytics on the exit interview. So what is the most burning issues during the exit interviews? By fixing that, I think that would be help. Okay, let me share you a little bit with Coca-Cola. Last year, our turnover is 13%. Okay, 13%. Whereas sales turnover, close 15-16%. So then it caused a lot of challenge for HR department. Then we sat back and look at, so what's the problem? So we analyzed that the biggest problem is the sales that caused a lot of turnover in the sales team. So the problem, we look at the market level, we are underpaid. We are like the market, okay? So, but how can we do that? If we catch up, is that sustainable financially? So HR need to look at, then we restructured our pay mix, what we call pay mix. Pay mix is the base pay, variable pay, the incentive. So with a reasonable target, you achieve the incentive and that you would be much more competitive with the market. So we introduced that strategy. It works comparing for the first quarter. Came a challenge again because of KPI setting. Re-look at the KPI setting. Now the sales turnover is less than 10%. And the turnover of the organization is 6% compared to last year, 13%. So I think that HR analytics need to be done to understand. If you don't understand where the problem is, then we fix the problem in the air and it doesn't work. Thank you.
Okay, let me get a more question from Bong Srai. You want to ask?
I have one question just regarding the perspective and from human resource perspective, you have like so far in Cambodia concept. I would like to know whether how we can solve the problem of mismatching, the skill mismatching in the marketplace. Because this is a big problem in Cambodia so far that I understand. Thank you.
Okay, I want to pass it to Mr. Cheong first. Can you share this kind of thing from the experience overseas? Have you met that kind and how you solve it?
mismatching of the candidate and the job. Okay. There are some of the, we cannot be totally guaranteed of mismatching, but what we do is the job has got two components, you agree? In the job description, the technical or functional component as well as the behavioral component. So technical is a bit more straightforward, isn't it? If you are a civil engineer, you know you have to do all these things. And you measure the person's project management experience. But it's the behavioral part that we want to match. What is the behavioral requirements of the job versus what is the behavior of the candidate? That's where certain tools are there, personality profiling tools, job profiling tools, to see whether there is a close match. I actually did one for a client back in Malaysia. They wanted a human resource manager. So we did a job candidate matching. And in the interview, the first candidate was the most impressive. But in terms of doing the matching through the profiling tool, the third candidate was the most suitable. Why? Because face-to-face interview is only one perception. A person can actually impress you, am I right? And you never know what is inside the heart. But when the person does certain things that comes from within, that's where you start finding the real situation. So you cannot eliminate the risk, but you can reduce the risk. Of course, people does reference checks, so on and so forth. But again, these are your safeguards that I can recommend to you. Anyone wants to say?
Okay. Okay, please.
I'd like to add a little bit. Usually when we ask candidate apply for a job, we ask for reference. Usually the reference come from the boss, you know, they give you the supervisors, superior before. One way to overcome that is ask them to give you a number of their subordinate, the one that they worked before. To me, that will be, it's easy to be nice to your boss. It's not so easy to be nice to your subordinate. So you interview them, and then you have a better idea about, this is only for behavioral thing.
Bong Bilal, you want to add something?
I'd just like to extend that a little bit. So that the external part, so getting the people from outside. Okay, so we are talking about the buying and billing. Okay, so at the same time, also please look at, I think, building the talents. Look at the existing talents you have. So that's the quickest way to cope up with those kind of challenges. So look at the existing talent and how can you build? What's the skill gaps? Is it functional? Is it technical? And where's the problem? So by looking at the internal, I think that would help the organizations a lot while you are trying to buy the talents.
Okay, thank you. I just want to refer to Sister a bit more because I'm not sure you are referring to the skill of the HR people to recruit the people, or you mentioned the national-wide about the shortage. If you mention the national-wide because of the demand and supply is not matching, it is another story. I just want to share something. Yesterday I also attended the ADB workshop that they do the dialogues about the skill shortage as well. And then at the time, I also give some recommendation to the workshop that we should ask all of the company to submit the HR plan for next year or next 5 years or 3 years, like how many people they will need and how many percentage of the skill that they need, accounting, how many percentage marketing, how many percentage, and then submit to Ministry of Labor. And then Ministry of Labor can know the data and also pass this to the Ministry of Education. And then Ministry of Education can announce to university, and then university know that, okay, within 5 years, this sector will need how many people, how many percentage of the whole workforce, something like that. This is one way. And then another way, I also give the recommendation that we should link between the private sector and university. So the board of director of university should allow some people from the private sector to involve when they develop the curriculum. So the private sector can advise, the private sector can tell them what is the demand, what is the need, the skill need from the private sector. And another thing, the ministry should play a key role to be a bridge to link the private sector and the university or the training center to know each other, to have chance each other, to work together to solve this issue. This is about the national-wide SOTEC, but about the skill, I think all of our speaker already mentioned to you. Okay, can we have more? Okay, now because of the time, we cannot get any more. One more question is okay? Okay, please.
All right,
just one
last
more
question. The very last
Okay,
question.
please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Malay. I'm just from organization which is under transforming to high performing focus. And then I would like to get your comment and advice for how we are, what kind of skill or soft skill development or HR development that we should focus on. And in order for us to be ready for Asian integration, or when we can say that change before we change. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so what kind of soft skill is important for HR profession? Okay, please. I think you can share a little bit, all of you. Okay, please.
One organization is different from another. Right? So I think the most important thing is that understand what is happening in the existing situation. And so at the other side, understand what is the business direction. So is it the expansion to what kind of business? And then look at it, the functional skill for that business within the next 3 years. So what do you have to do now? What kind of skill set you need for that business unit? Okay? At the same time, leadership is quite important. You got to build leaders before you build a business. So if your business is going to expand within the next 3 years, so build the leadership now. So by doing so, diagnose the strengths and opportunities of all the leaders that you may want to focus on. So that is my advice. Thank you.
Okay, Professor Lee. Okay. Thank you so much. So because of the time now it is a real final time. Okay, so let me pass it to
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully this time I don't make any unintentional mistake again. Thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, let me clarify the lunch, buffet is readily available according to the message from Mr. Kumun. And there are two places, everybody. One is at the CJCC lobby, and the second one is the tree garden outside. And for your information, we are going to resume our session in the afternoon after lunch at 1:30, exactly 1:30. Thank you so much. Please enjoy your lunch and have a nice talk. Thank you.